First of all, thank you very much. I'd like to begin by thanking ERLC for organizing this important conversation. It's an honor to be part of this panel along with Ambassador Bromback, Dr. Moore, and my good friend Roshan Abbas. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank Ambassador Bromback for his extraordinary leadership on the issue. He has been a true leader promoting religious freedom for the Uyghurs and others around the world. We're fortunate to have him in his current position advocating for the Uyghurs and others. The forced labor has been part of Uyghur life as long as I've been breathing. They initially called this as hashar. There's a Uyghur term for forced labor. As I grow up in my ancestral hometown, Kashgar, I witnessed Chinese entities, particularly this one that recently been sanctioned, Xinjiang Production and Construction Corp, a paramilitary unit with over 800,000 shell companies around the world, largely responsible for forced labor. Taking Uyghur villagers, the people from the villages, to irrigation constructions, to cotton fields working for free. Oddly enough, 4 or 5 decades later, we're seeing the Uyghurs forced to work in the textile industry. Again, it's linked to cotton. When I mention cotton, this should make this issue relatable to American public. It reminds us some bitter history in America. And also, just yesterday, those of you who still feel indifferent to what's happening to the Uyghurs, I'd like to share this social media posting by Human Rights Foundation in New York that I had the pleasure to work with on the Oslo Freedom Forum. Said something like this. This is so revealing. Have you thought about who made your clothes? What if the people who made your shirt were working in a concentration camps? Would you still buy these clothes? These are the people who made your shirt. They're referring to the Uyghurs who were blindfolded and then transported in the train in this powerful video. There's also, they also goes on to say, there's a good chance that your shirt, your shoes, and your face mask are made by enslaved Uyghurs in the region. So it's been disturbing, to say the least, at least that the global supply chain, global economic system, not only polluted by the Chinese, they're also affecting the everyday health of the American public. New York Times recently reported that even PPEs sent around the world from China, believed to be made by enslaved Uyghurs. So again, the forced labor has been part of the Uyghur lives, and that is one of the methods, one of the vehicles that Chinese use to repress the Uyghur religion and Uyghur culture. And also, this is something that the government does not openly, publicly promote, but it's been quietly promoted through government-provided loans to business entities, and also preferential treatment for Han Chinese migrants as part of the reason, part of the enticement to bring them to the region to marry Uyghur women, get a decent position in various companies set up by the Chinese government or set up with the help of the Chinese government. So I'd like to bring up something else that has not been widely discussed. The forced labor in the Uyghur region, or the conduct by the Chinese government forcing Uyghurs to enslave in these forced labor camps or assembly lines may rise to the level of crimes against humanity. International jurisprudence, international law defines several key elements of crimes against humanity. The act must be part of the widespread systematic attack, and 2, attack must be against the civilian population, and the attack must be launched on the discriminatory grounds, including ethnic and religious grounds. This is Such attacks in many instances are violent, but not always. So these are the specific things and acts that the Chinese government is directly, indirectly doing that amounts to crime against humanity. As you know from the history books of your reading, that during the Nuremberg trials after the World War II, certain German industrialists found guilty of crimes against humanity. That includes those used forced labor associated with the concentration camp building. In closing, I'd like to call on action to those in power in the government and also those in the society, consumers. When you buy anything made in China, if it's a textile cotton product, I think it should be something that you need to give you a pause. Last year, when the baby pajamas made to the shelves in Costco, it had a chilling effect on me. I have 2 small babies. I don't get their clothes from Costco, but I may have bought baby pajamas for my own children. Products possibly made by my fellow Uyghurs in China. So as a consumer, please do your due diligence. Please stop at least buying any cotton or textile products coming from China. And those in the government at home and abroad, this should be something a non-controversial, should be something easier to tackle on. As an American by choice, I am pleased by the responses, both historic and unprecedented, that the current administration has shown, including adding 48 entities to the entity list, going after this biggest menace, SXPCC, the paramilitary, under the Global Magnitsky Act, enactment of the Uyghur Policy Act. Those are the things that welcome, but I call on the other governments, particularly the ones in Europe. Europeans cannot continue to say, what about the Muslim countries? Of course, the Muslim countries have to speak up, but you also equally have responsibility. You have survived, experienced Nazi Germany, fascism, and you know exactly how this ends when a government, a regime targeting religious minority. And also to our government, as part of my responsibility, I call on the United States government and urge the US government to do a couple of things. One, swiftly pass the Uyghur Forced Labor Prevention Act that has been introduced in the US Congress in March. And also I urge the administration to make a pledge not to send anyone to the any government delegation to the 2022 Winter Olympics. And thank you very much for the opportunity. I appreciate your organizations, others doing this kind of public event to educate public about the atrocities committed against the Uyghur people in the daylight.